Well, hello and welcome to your time management training. So this will probably likely be two parts because I feel like this is probably single-handedly the number one thing you could do to make yourself successful. So I'm going to break it down into two different trainings. So the first thing that you need to know about time management is self-management. It is about figuring out what is the most important thing, what should you be focused on, and then focusing on that. For example, comparing a to-do list where you could literally dump, or some people call it a dump list, literally everything that you need to do. Vacuuming the floors, grocery shopping, running to the post office, all your business things that you're going to learn. Versus picking out the 6 most important things that will bring you income and bring it to you now. So those are, that is like one comparison. So typically what I would suggest for you to do if you're going to create a dump list, write everything down that you think like you need to do. And then take that and take the 6 most important things each day and move those to the front and get those done first. And so the first thing I want to talk to you guys about today is the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of the work. 80% of your sales are going to come from 20% of your customers. You're going to receive bigger results from bigger groups versus facials and reorders or individual appointments, whatever those look like. And so I want you guys focused on the more that you can do at one time. So typically, if we sit down with one customer, we do the same thing with one customer than we do with 10 customers. And so if you're using your time effectively, you want to spend time in bigger groups so that you get more back from that. The next thing is picking the one thing that if you did it each day is going to make the rest of your business easier or make other things not necessary. And so our number one goal always goes back to your customers. Seeing new customers, servicing existing customers is going to bring you the most money. Do you need, I was looking to see if I have an example, to put your sticker on every single product? Yes. However, that is not bringing you money compared to booking appointments, coaching appointments, getting in front of people and showing them our product. And so you want to do the one thing first that's going to bring you the most money. So every day I look at my 6 most important lists and what's the one thing that is going to bring me the most money. And I do that first. And then the other things get done, but they are for sure, if nothing else gets done, the one big thing gets done for my customers. And so then typically everything else is easier. And then it's not a big deal if something has to be put off till tomorrow. So, and then in front of your business, we have like business hours. You should, not typically be reaching out to customers post 8 or 9 o'clock. That's where you would put sticker on your products. That's where you would do your clothes or your laundry or the floors or whatever else needs to get done. Those can be done after hours. You can't necessarily reach out to customers after hours. So you want to be careful. And then one thing I always ask myself is when I'm going to do something, I ask myself, would I miss my kids' ball game or practice to do this? Would I miss my kids' ball game to do the floors? No. So I wouldn't miss working my business when I can. I would do the floors later. I would do the floors when I'm off or in the evening or after everyone goes to bed. So that is my suggestion of the one thing. And literally ask yourself this every single solitary day, and you will be very, very successful. Okay. Multitasking. Number one, y'all. Doesn't work. Okay. It takes longer and you're going to be less effective. There's actually been studies. People who work in an office, the more they get interrupted and try to answer someone and get their work done, the longer it takes them to do it. And then their task, once they're off task, then they have to go back to task. It takes them even longer to catch back up to where they were when someone else is talking or you're trying to do multiple things. Okay. This is where poor decisions are typically made. And so you have to decide, is this the most important thing I'm working on? And that's what you need to do. And I'm sure you guys have heard some of these analogies, but if you were having surgery, would you want the doctor playing on his cell phone while he's having surgery? Obviously not. If you were in a plane, would you want the pilot playing on his phone, not paying attention to flying you? So that kind of thing, that's multitasking, y'all. And so typically in those situations, it doesn't work. And so when you break it down, it isn't going to work for you either. So focus on one thing at a time. For example, in the time management later on, I used to spend 30 minutes of uninterrupted time. I would lock myself in my office while my kids were napping when they were little, booking or coaching or doing customer service for the whole week, but I was uninterrupted. I was literally in my office with the door locked so that I could hurry and get that done and not trying to do things with the kids and like going back and forth. So distractions will take you 10 times longer to get work done. All right. All right. So next is really going to break down discipline and willpower. So when you rely on your willpower, it's just to do more, to get more, to get more. And so the more we use our mind to make decisions, the less mind power we're actually going to have. Should I do this? Should I do that? It's exhausting. And a lot of times we just if you get into a rhythm, it's not as exhausting. And so I like to go live in my customer groups. And so it's a thing. I do it every single week. So I don't have to spend a lot of time and energy overthinking it. It's just something that I do. But when you plan ahead, so I know every week on Wednesday, I'm going live in my customer group. I don't have to stress about, oh my gosh, when am I going to fit in my customer group? Wednesday's my easy day. So it's always on Wednesday. And I just make it that simple. And so figure out when you can plan things out at the beginning of the week and then you don't feel quite as stressed. For example, if you wait till 5 o'clock to say, oh, I'm starving, you're going to typically make a not so good healthy choice if you don't have a plan on what you're eating for dinner and you don't have the things that you need to fulfill that plan. So some people meal prep, which is amazing. I don't. I meal plan. So at the beginning of the week, I write down because I know our schedule. The nights that the kids have practice, those are typically quick nights. Those are typically nights I cook in the crock pot. Or if I have a class, those are my crock pot nights. I plan those ahead versus it being 5 o'clock. I have a class at 6 o'clock. Oh my gosh, what am I going to feed everyone? So all of that kind of gets planned at the beginning of the week. So I make better health decisions, and I make better choices as far as my food goes. And so you just basically take the guessing out of it by having this discipline. So, and I'll get into this in the second video, but when you sit down with your schedule, if you get all this done, you're going to notice you're more disciplined. And so the one thing is that I do that one thing first before I'm tired, before I'm exhausted. So I don't wait until I'm tired and I can't think and the kids are hungry to make that decision about dinner. So you wouldn't do the same thing about your business. Oh, I'm too tired to do this or that. So I always do some of the most important things when I have energy. Now, I'm a morning person. You might not be a morning person. It's definitely something, if you want to be one, you have to create yourself. But I will tell you, I have to put my workout in the morning because when my workouts used to be in the evening, life happens. The kids have homework. The kids have practice. They have this. We have that. We have to cook dinner. We have to get ready for the next day. And I would never get my workout done. So I had to move my workout for the morning. I had to teach myself to get up earlier. I had to teach myself to get it done. But once I started doing that, I allowed my schedule. I fit it into what worked for me. Okay. Now I have a lot of flexibility with my schedule. If you don't, you just get creative with the time that you have. For example, you could be doing things on your lunch break. So rather than scrolling Facebook or playing on any social media or watching the news, you could literally be doing customer service, planning your business, recording videos, taking pictures, posting, scheduling posting on your customer groups at that time. Okay, so discipline and willpower are going to be part of your equation. You have to do something long enough for a habit to take over. So when I started working out in the morning, it was so hard to teach myself to wake up early. And so rather than jump in, I recommend, if you need a good book, especially with a morning routine, I do recommend The Miracle Morning. It said start with 5 minutes, then do 10 minutes, then do 20 minutes, and then do 30 minutes. And then you teach yourself to work up to that. And so for example, if you do one booking a day, at the end of 5 days, you'd have 5 bookings. At the end of the month, even taking a few days off, let's say you'd have 20 to 25 bookings. If you want to start reading, I do have a learning disability, and so reading is a struggle for me. And I used to start a book and I'd get frustrated and put it down. And then someone said, what if you read a page a day? At the end of the year, you read 365 pages. And then what if you started reading 2 pages a day? Then 3 pages a day. And so I got to where I would read at least 5 pages a day, and that wasn't as overwhelming. Or I would read maybe 1 chapter at a time. Instead of trying to spend a lot of time when it's hard for me to focus, I taught myself to do small amounts and then build up from there. Okay. Um, so Oh, so going live in your customer group, for example, what if you went live in your customer group twice a week? At the end of a year, it would be over 100 times you got in front of your customers live. Once a week would be 50 times you got in front of your customers. And so once doesn't have, like, you literally, I don't think people would want to watch you every day anyway, but if you did once or twice a week, that live would make a big difference. And so just start small, y'all. It doesn't have to be huge. Just start small. Okay. Believing in a balanced life. If you guys have ever seen a pendulum, they typically swing one way or the other. And that is where most people focus. Either I'm really good at work and I'm letting things go at home, or I'm really good at home and I'm not letting things hit in the middle. So you need to find a peaceful harmony where your work and your life are kind of like doing this cool little like back and forth thing. Okay. However, nothing is going to ever be 100% balanced, because when you're spending time in one place, it is time taken away from another place. And so just know, though, that if you use your time effectively, you can be more successful. And so, for example, when my girls were little, I would take them to dance class. All the other parents would sit in the little waiting room and chit chat for an hour. And then I realized I was letting an hour of my life go by every single week. And so I started bringing my work there. And if I couldn't sit in there, I would go sit in my car. And actually have a good friend. She does a lot of her parties and or her customer service. She does them on Zoom in her car while her kids are at practice. And so I've had to do trainings before. I was sitting in my car waiting for the kids to get out of practice. And so when you're figuring out your schedule, if you put those important things in there first, and then you put the other things, something might get undone. But I would rather the clothes not get done for a few extra days and I'm making money to support my family and put food on the table and, allow them to have extras versus that I'm so focused on not working, I'm so focused on my kids and being at practice. Like, y'all, if they're sitting at practice, I can absolutely get work done. And so it's all about kind of creating pockets of time when you're doing something and you're like, oh, I have a few minutes, I can fit this in here. Oh, instead of when I was a teacher, I used to go to the teacher's lounge every single solitary day for 30 minutes and listen to the same people say the same things every single day. And then I started Mary Kay and I was like, I could stay in my classroom, do a little bit cleanup so I don't have to do it at the end of the day, or get some prep done while I'm listening to something positive or inspirational. And then it was like a win-win for me. I was in a better headspace. I wasn't listening to the negativity of the other people complaining. And so I was putting my priorities first on my calendar and still getting my work done at the same time. So I hope that makes sense. And so I want you guys making money versus cleaning your floors or listening to other people gossip in the lunchroom on your break. And so the other part about balance is that I was taught is to like think about your work as in like balls that you would juggle. So like if you're watching someone juggle, one's your life, one's your marriage, one's your health, one's parenting, and you're juggling all these things. You're trying to keep all these things in the air. Some are going to need attention. And some are going to be ones that, like, if you drop them, they will crack. So your work ball is going to be more rubber. It can hit the ground and come back up. Like, it can have bad days and come back up. But your marriage and your parenting balls, if those hit the floor, they might crack because those would be made out of glass. Those need more attention. They're they're way more important on glass terms. They're a little bit more important. And so if we're always going to be constantly juggling these things, y'all. And so it's a matter of figuring out what's most important. Those glass balls, your marriage, your health, your kids, those go first. And then your work balls should be next. And so, but you want to keep those moving. You don't want to drop them and leave them on the ground because then you're definitely not making any money. So your life can be a little unbalanced because you're tossing one in the air while the other one's coming down. But when you're searching for big goals, that's okay. And then after that, you are going to be at a place where you can kind of relax a little bit. So it's all about balance. So it's about knowing what you need to do and doing it. I forgot to switch that after that. But if you know how much money you need to make, then you can figure out, okay, this is what this looks like at the beginning of the month. I have more time, or I have more time at the end of the month. And then you schedule it strategically around all that. So that is it for part one. I will be right back with part